we did from. So in 9th chapter, Krishna is explaining, his supremacy, that how everything is being sustained by him, how he created, how he entered into his own creation, and then how he's maintaining everything. So he's saying everything moving and non-moving is under my direction. So he's telling that he's a supreme dictator. And it's not something that Krishna is boastful about, but for example, when we go to a company and then we ask all the employees, oh, who is the CEO here? And the CEO comes, yes, I am the CEO of this company. So it's something like that Krishna has to tell this for the benefit of the whole world. So he's telling, okay, yes, I'm the Supreme Lord. And then Krishna tells that if we surrender or if we offer our lives to him, then we come under the protection of the divine energy of the Lord, or the internal energy of the Lord, as opposed to the external energy of the Lord, which is what we are surrounded with. Most people are interacting with the external energy of the Lord when they're interacting with the world, and then and that energy is very difficult to cross, or to fight with. So Krishna is saying that as you come approach me, then it becomes very easy to cross over that. And then Krishna is telling about, in particular verse, that there are different kinds of worshippers. One class of people think that, oh, we are only God. The other class of people think, oh, there must be some powerful living entities. You see in the painting here, there's the sun god, there's a moon god, there's rain god, there's a wind god, the goddess of wealth, goddess of knowledge. So all these personalities are Supreme Lord. Or some others think that, oh, universe is so intriguing, it's so vast, maybe that is the worshipable personality. So we see different things, and they have different fallacies, because above the demigods is Krishna. So the Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are not God. If we were God, how can we be forgetful of God? So how is that possible, that God can be forgetful? Because Krishna is telling very clearly in 7th chapter that he's the knower of the past, present, and future. He knows everything, and everything is resting on him. So if everything is resting on you, how can you forget that you're God? So that theory also doesn't hold very well. And the last is the universe. People think that universe is the worshipable thing. Yes, it's powerful. It's the Supreme Lord's creation, certainly, but creation is always inferior to the creator. So probably that's not the best thing. So Krishna establishes his position to a great extent in this chapter. And then we all have love languages, and Krishna's love language is love and devotion, or devotion and service. And so he says, telling, which you're already doing, is that offer a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, and he will accept. But how? With love and devotion. And whatever we do, charities we do, if we can somehow connect it to Krishna, we all have charitable hearts. But if we can somehow connect the living entity to Krishna, it's the greatest charity. So everything that we do, if we do it as an offering to the Lord, then that becomes devotional service. It's so powerful, and that's what Krishna is explaining. These are the two of the most important texts from this. And then Krishna is saying, what is the result of doing this? The result of doing this is that we become free from the bondage to work. This is what we've been studying from very long, that we want to be freed from the bondage of work, so that we don't have to come back in this world, in the cycle of action, reaction, the cycle of birth and death. Then how do we become free? We become free by offering everything to the Lord. That frees us, that liberates us. And then Krishna is actually explaining the loving propensity towards his devotee. He's saying that I'm actually not very partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But it's like a child, if the house is on fire, whom do we save first? We save our family members first, and then maybe if we have energy, time, resources, then we save others. So something like that. as soon as Krishna sees someone is particularly very inclined towards him, towards knowing him, towards serving him, towards loving him, then he becomes a, a, a friend to that person, and is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. So that's what Krishna is establishing here. And Krishna is also carrying what we lack and preserve what we have. So, and it just doesn't limit Krishna to material protection, but it expands to the spiritual protection. Because material body is perishable, it will go away anyhow. But it's a spiritual protection that Krishna gives in the form of love, in the form of faith, trust, and increasing our understanding and appreciation of his own self. That's Krishna's protection towards the devotees. And so much so that if the devotee accidentally, it has to be accidental, unintentional mistake, that even if it's an abominable action, but if committed accidentally, Krishna tries to protect that person. He says he's still a saintly person, because quickly, by following this path, he becomes righteous. And he's asking Arjun to go out and declare this truth to the world. He's not saying this in the sense that, oh, I will go and declare to the world that my devotee never perishes. But he says, Arjun, you go and declare. And why is that? Because he's so sold out to his devotees. He says, if my devotee promises to the world that I will protect my devotees, then I will keep that promise, because my devotee promised it to the world. But for some instances, I can break my own promises. Just as there was a time in the war where the grandfather of Arjun, who was on the opposite side, he started attacking Arjun very, very fiercely, like he would be killed in no time. And Krishna had already taken a vow that he would not participate in the war. He would just be a chariot driver for Arjun. But when he saw that grandfather is attacking Arjun like anything and Arjun will not survive that attack, he actually stepped down off the chariot and he took a broken chariot wheel and he started throwing at the grandfather. And that's how he broke his own promise, that because he vowed he won't fight, but he was fighting here just to protect his devotee. So he broke his promise just to protect his devotee. So here, that's why Krishna is telling Arjun, oh son of Kunti, you go declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And then this is the ultimate, the most centermost verse of the entire Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. It's because Krishna has already explained in the 8th chapter that whatever state we remember at the time of death, that state we attain. So if you're always constantly thinking of Krishna, and then naturally the thought, that person that will come to our mind at the time, the final moment, would be Krishna. And then he will take us back, because that's the state we will attain. So here you see in the painting, there's a little boy called Gopakumar, and Krishna is embracing him. Krishna is the one with the peacock feather, because Krishna likes to reciprocate with the peacock's love. So he always puts a peacock feather on his head. And so when Gopakumar, after many, many lifetimes, he came, there's a 3-volume book explaining his journey. He comes back to the spiritual home, his spiritual home. Krishna actually fainted, seeing, oh, Gopakumar has come back finally. And he fainted out of happiness and love. And it's not that Krishna doesn't have friends there, but he was just expressing that each and every soul that returns to him is very, very dear to Krishna. So when Gopakumar returns, then he comes out of his state of unconsciousness, and then he runs towards Gopakumar and embraces Gopakumar. That's how Krishna's love is very, very vast and unique and deep for each individual. Yeah. So we'll come to the 10th chapter today, which is entitled in the Bhagavad Gita, The Opulences of the Absolute. So here Krishna begins by saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Listen again, O mighty armed Arjun, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. So Krishna is going to explain something more. Like we've already entitled the chapter 9 as the king of knowledge. And here he's telling him, I'm going to tell you something more, which is far more superior than what I've already told. And then Krishna tells in the initial verses of the chapter, he tells that I'm very difficult to be known. He tells that very great personalities like sages, demigods, powerful living entities in the world cannot know me. So, and then he says, but one who knows me is actually free, is actually liberated. It's a very beautiful text, text 7, where Krishna says, one who is factually convinced of this mystic and of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. And now here we're already into from the 9th chapter, we understand in a very scientific way our very own identity. So far till chapter 9, we understand our identity. And through chapter 9, we more precisely understand what is the purpose of our life. And so in this chapter, Krishna is going to tell something. These are the 4 most important texts in Bhagavad Gita, because they summarize the entire Bhagavad Gita. They summarize the everything. What is the relationship? Who is the source? How the relationship is, and what is the goal of that relationship? We understand everything through these 4 verses. So this is text 8, 9, 10, and 11. Jennifer, would you like to read all the texts?
Okay. Text 8. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Now, wise should perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service, and worship me with all their hearts. In text 9, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And text 11, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brandon, for joining. So we just began with the 10th chapter. This is the 4 most important texts that we'll be reading. And we saw in the 9th chapter that Krishna was telling that I'm the source, I'm the creator, I'm the maintainer, everything is running under my direction. Now in this text 8, he's summarizing in completely that he's the source. He's saying, I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. A lot of people have this argument, God doesn't have a form, God doesn't have this particular form, and they may argue, what is the basis? But Krishna here, which is in the Sanskrit, he's saying, Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Aham means I, and I refers to a person. So he's very clearly saying, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And when we understand this fact that everything has a purpose, everything has a source, then we understand that ultimate proprietor is God. Ultimate proprietor is God, and there's nothing to fight in this world, about We are not supposed to pull each other down, drag each other down, put each other to shame, or fight, or be greedy, or grab things, because everything belongs to the Lord, including myself and including all my neighbors, including all the living entities that I see around. And so the natural respect develops for the creation, and we work in that consciousness. We become more conscious of the earth, we become conscious of the birds, the bees, the flies, everything, just because we understand that they have a sacred source in the divine nature. So when we understand this, then what happens? The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna is using the words in the Sanskrit Buddha Bhava Samanvita, which means Buddha means intelligence. The Buddhism, the intelligence, Buddha. And Bhava means emotions. Samanvita, they engage. So he's saying that as soon as person realizes that there's one source, and one source is responsible for everything that we see around, and every life is sacred, then they start worshiping me. And how do they worship me? They worship me with their intelligence and with a lot of love, because they're wise and they understand who is the source. So in text 9, he's saying, which is in text 8, we have established the relationship with the Lord, that, oh, I have a relationship with the Lord. He's the source. He's my source. In text 9, we understand, okay, we have a connection, we have a relationship. But how does that relationship go about? We learn from here. So in text 9, he's saying that when devotees start worshiping me, they also come together. And when they come together, they devote their lives towards me and they talk about me. And when they talk about me, they derive great pleasure. They become satisfied. They become happy by talking about me. And what this talking about Krishna does to us is actually explained in the purport of this particular text. And it's a very beautiful purport, and you should probably go back and read it. But the analogy used is like a seed. There's a seed of devotion in each of our hearts. And Bhaktilata also talked about this particular verse, that we all have a seed. We have that love within our hearts for the Lord. But how does that seed grows into a little plant, and then a creeper, and that creeper grows and goes beyond this world and penetrates the spiritual abode of the Lord, and then finally rests with the Lord. So this is what is explained in the purport. So as we hear, or as we talk about Krishna, or as we converse about Krishna, are the seed of devotion which is very much present in our hearts, actually starts growing, because it's like watering. When we are hearing about Krishna, it's like watering the seed of devotion. And that seed of devotion grows and grows and grows and goes beyond this world, and finally takes rest in the abode of the Lord. So this is text 9, where we start nourishing this relationship by hearing about the Lord, by serving him with love. And then what happens when we are doing this? And Krishna is saying the goal is to reach Krishna. So how do we get to Krishna? Krishna is saying, to those who are constantly devoted to me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So all we have to offer is little love. And then rest Krishna does. He gives the understanding. He gives the direction. He gives the guidance. He opens the ways that how we can come to him. And then by that, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp the knowledge, that is the shining lamp of the knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. So he's only doing the rest of the work. All we have to do is offer our love from our heart, the sincere love and devotion, and that's it. And then Krishna will destroy whatever is unwanted within our lives, from our hearts, externally, internally. And then he'll also give us the understanding to mature in our devotional service towards him. So then after hearing this these 4 verses, Arjun says to Krishna, Brandon, would you like to read this translation for us?
Yes. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate adobe, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Savala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Thank you, Brandon. Yes. So now here Arjuna is explaining, is confirming what Krishna has already explained to Arjuna or talked about to Arjuna. So here Arjuna is finally accepting. He already knows that Krishna, his dear friend, his chariot driver at the moment, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he's also, after hearing so much from Krishna, his realization has matured a bit more. And so he's saying that you are the ultimate personality, you're the original person, you're the eternal. And now somebody may say, oh, Arjun is Krishna's friend and cousin. Maybe he's saying all this to flatter Krishna. But Arjun is also substantiating his words by saying, by naming these great sages. You know, they after their intense spiritual practice, they confirm that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's using them as reference that it's just not me, it's also Narad, Asita, Devla, and Vyasa who has confirmed this truth about you, and you yourself are now declaring it to me. So this is Arjun's understanding after hearing from Krishna. So then Arjuna tells Krishna later on in the chapter that, Krishna, I want to hear more about you. Please tell me something more. Tell me about your opulences. And so Krishna says to Arjun, okay, I will tell you about my opulences, but they're unlimited. I cannot tell you everything. I can tell you something, but not everything. But I will surely share. And it's something like, if I want to know what Jennifer likes, who is the best person to know? It's Jennifer. I can ask Jennifer, Jennifer, do you like this? Or Jennifer, do you like that? And Jennifer will, yeah, I like gala apples, or I like paneer. Oh, but I don't like, maybe carrots, just for example. So it's Jennifer who can tell best about her own self. And the other closest person would be Jennifer's maybe mother or father. They may know Jennifer likes this way, the apples should be served this way, or the bananas should be served this way. So they will have a better idea. So here Krishna is telling about himself, because the best person to know him is he himself. So Krishna starts talking about himself. And, we saw that the end of the 9th chapter was where Krishna is saying, engage your mind in thinking of me. And in this chapter, he will tell us how we can think of him every day around us. We look around us and we can find Krishna. So that's what he's going to tell us in this chapter. It's also, we will appreciate Krishna after learning this chapter, appreciate Krishna as source of the universe, the source of the entire creation. And also we will see Krishna within his own creation. And it's not something like intellectual exercise. It requires transformation of heart. That's what Arjuna is going through. His heart is transformed after hearing the truths from Krishna. And so he's saying, oh, you're the original person. So it requires transformation of consciousness. It requires revelation from within. And that's what Krishna said, I will reveal, I will give the understanding to come to me. So after we'll see how Krishna explains that we can see him in all those objects of this world, but that doesn't mean that is Krishna. It's just like when a mother sees the shoes of her child, The child has gone to the school, the one of the pair of the shoes is at home, and she sees the shoes, and immediately what does she think? Oh, it belongs to my John, it belongs to my John. And immediately her heart would be filled with emotions, some emotions. So similarly, when we are mature spiritualists, or when we are mature in Krishna consciousness, as soon as we see things around us, it'll be a natural outcome that we'll think of Krishna, that it belongs to Krishna, but that doesn't mean it's Krishna, and person is different, it's the shoes are different from the child, but because they belong to the child, mother has some emotion for the shoes too. So, but that doesn't mean we start feeding the shoes, or we start playing with the shoes. No, but it just very deeply remind us of the child, especially to the mother. So Krishna tells different opulences through different texts. We're not going through all, but I've just highlighted so that there'll be a lot of names and different things, but you can connect with the common things that I've highlighted here. So in text 20, Krishna is stating that I'm the super soul seated in the hearts of all living entities. I'm the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. He's stating that. And he's stating, of lights, I am the radiant sun. So as soon as we see the sun, we can always remember Krishna, because Krishna is saying, of the lights, I'm the radiant sun. Or when we see the moon, among the stars, I'm the moon, Krishna is telling. Of bodies of water, I'm the ocean. So as soon as we see these objects, common things around us, the sun, the moon, the ocean, then we can remember Krishna. Krishna is saying, of fishes, I'm the shark. And now that we are chanting the holy names of the Lord in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then we can remember that Krishna is also saying, of sacrifices, I'm the chanting of the holy names, Japa. So as soon as we chant Hare Krishna, or we chant Krishna, Govinda, these are the names of Krishna, then we immediately associate with Krishna. They're not different from Krishna, and Krishna is very clearly telling this. He's also the sound of transcendental Om. In text 34, he says, I'm all devouring death. Now, we've all seen a cat. Now, cat holds the kitten also within its mouth, and it also holds the rat within its mouth. But the experience for both rat and kitten is very, very different. It's just totally opposite. For kitten, it's love, it's protection, it's security. And for rat, it's death. So similarly, for a materialist, for a person who has not cultivated that love for the God comes as death. But for a spiritualist, death is just a transition, a positive transition, because they know they have a destination to go forward to. So it's not fearful. So Krishna is saying, I'm all devouring death, and I'm the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So when we see all these beautiful qualities in woman or man, we can always remember Krishna, that Krishna is saying that he's the source of all these wonderful qualities of fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. He's also saying, of the months, I am the months of November and December. So when November and December arrive, we can think of Krishna. And of the seasons, I'm the flower-bearing spring. So spring is here, we can think of Krishna. So everywhere we look around, we can think of Krishna. He's also saying, I'm also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid, I'm the splendor. I'm victory, I'm adventure, I'm the strength of the strong. So every time we go through a thrilling experience, like on a roller coaster ride, or just skiing, or anything, that's adventure, that's thrill, and that the origin is Krishna. And the generating seed of all existences. There's no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. These were the slides which I actually made for children's class. So just to, just colorful, because I was teaching the similar topic to kids. So of the sun, of the lights, the radiant sun, the bodies of water and the ocean. Krishna also says of letters and the letter A, the first. So by saying all these things, Krishna is actually telling us that he's the best among everything. The best of the seasons is spring. Everyone loves spring because of the colors, because of the weather, because of everything. Everything about spring is so beautiful, fresh. It signifies new life, the beginning of new life. So therefore, Krishna is telling everything. Krishna takes the best position in every category that he's speaking of. And then, yeah, this we started. Yes, also one time Srila Prabhupada was lecturing and he was telling that why the sky is blue. We had in scientific society, we have a different explanation of the wavelengths, and that's why the sky is blue. That's how they explain, based on the wavelength of the lights, different lights. But Prabhupada explains because Krishna is bluish in complexion, the effulgence that comes out of his body is also bluish. Therefore, the sky is bluish. So when we look into the sky, we can always think of Krishna's body or Krishna's bodily color, and remember Krishna. Now, this is the end of the chapter where Krishna is saying, Jennifer, would you like to read this for us? 40, 41, 42.
Oh, mightier conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe.
Thank you. So Krishna is saying everything beautiful that we see, or everything nice or splendid we see is actually, we should remember that it's just a spark of Krishna's original splendor. It's just a spark. One time Srila Prabhupada was actually visiting America for his preaching tours, and there's this, I don't remember exact place, but he was coming in one of the cities here in America, and that time there were certain people who were joining the movement, but they'd not seen Srila Prabhupada in person. So there was this monk who was serving at the temple, and everybody went to the airport to receive Srila Prabhupada, and the flight landed, and Prabhupada was supposed to come. And this monk was very eagerly looking, when will Prabhupada come, when will Prabhupada come? And he was just waiting for Srila Prabhupada to arrive. And but before Prabhupada arrived, there came a beautiful air hostess from the plane. And he got attracted by that air hostess, and he was gazing, looking into that direction. And suddenly Prabhupada came in front of his sight, and he didn't realize. He was just trying to follow, his eyes were following the air hostess movement. And then Prabhupada looked into his eyes and then said, "Isn't she beautiful?" And he became so embarrassed. He's like, I cannot lie, I cannot say yes, I cannot say no. It's just a very difficult situation. And then Prabhupada said, without him saying anything, Prabhupada said, if she's so beautiful, just imagine how Krishna must be beautiful. So he just wanted to tell us just a spark of Krishna's beauty. And he was just always Krishna conscious. So it was very easy for Prabhupada to say that. But yeah, all he wanted to teach us is that everything that we see, beautiful hair and beautiful skin, complexion, whatever it may be that attracts us in this world, is just, just a little spark from Krishna's beauty. So this is chapter 11, which is entitled in the book, The Universal Form. I get this title because Krishna establishes the path by which we can know him. And it's a very long chapter, but we are doing in a very short manner. So we'll begin this chapter. And here Arjun, Arjun actually requests Krishna to show a form by which he entered the universe. He says, "Oh Krishna, please show me the form by which you created this world and by which you entered this whole universe." And then he says in text 4, which is a very humble opinion or humble request of Arjun to Krishna. He says, "If you think I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self." So Arjun is Krishna's friend, and still he's so humble. He's just saying that if you think I'll be able to behold, or I'm qualified to behold that. So sometimes people take God very cheaply. Why doesn't he come in front of me? If God exists, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Why doesn't he come in? Why doesn't he come in? Why doesn't he come in front of me? Something like that. People try to challenge God and take him very cheaply. But God is not something cheap. He comes by his own sweet will, and he interacts in various ways, and he has inconceivable ways to establish himself. So it's just not his presence, physical presence, but in many ways he establishes. So here Arjun was very humble, and he said, "If you think I'll be able to behold, you just show me." And Krishna here tells Arjun that, "Yes, I will show you, and you just behold my form now, and you will see that everything is actually coming from this particular form of me. But in text 8, he says, you cannot see me with your present eyes, and therefore I will give you a very special vision." So again, when people who are demanding to see God, here we see that Krishna is saying, you cannot see me with your present eyes, because these are the eyes which are meant to interact with the things of this world. But God is not of this world. God is beyond. He's spiritual. So we need spiritual vision to see him. Our eyes should be anointed with love and devotion, and then Krishna will be seen. So he gives a very special vision to Arjuna to see this universal form. And this is the universal form. The rest of the chapter follows the description of this particular form. And this is the form where Krishna shows thousands and thousands of heads and arms and legs, and everything was seen within this particular form, not just the universe that Arjun is in, but all the universes that are functioning. Arjun was able to see everything. It was very ghastly. It was very vast. It was very confusing, bewildering. It was just very, very, mind-boggling to see all that. Arjuna even saw that what is Krishna's plan. He saw that all the armies of the opposite side of his own side were rushing into the mouth of Krishna, like dying. So he saw that it's Krishna's plan that he has come to kill all these demoniac people, and they will be killed. And all I have to do is support Krishna in this. And after seeing this form, Arjuna was completely thrilled, and he said, "Krishna, I'm done with this. Just resume. Just go back to your four-armed form. I want to see your four-armed form now. I'm done with this form. That's it. Don't show me. I'm very scared, and my mind is very restless." So then Krishna shows his four-armed form also to Arjuna. And then he shows finally the two-armed form, which is the original form of the Lord, and that he establishes. But during all this, Arjuna also realized, he started offering prayers of awe and reverence to Krishna, because he realized that Krishna is not an ordinary person. And Arjun was very happy with the two-handed form of Krishna, but then why did he ask Krishna to show the universal form? It was actually for two reasons. And the first reason was that he wanted to show the universal form because he wanted to establish for good that Krishna is the source of everything. He's the source of this entire world. Secondly, he wanted to tell to the world that if anyone in the future claims that he's God, then he has to show the universal form, and then we'll believe that he's God. Because God is not something cheap. There's so many godmen, manufactured gods. They just master some magical tricks, and they think that they are God, and they trick people to believe that they are God. So that's not all. You have to show your universal form, and then we believe. So for the future reference, Arjuna requested Krishna to show this form. And when he saw that form, he himself was in that position where he realized, yes, you're the Supreme Lord. And then he gives this little apology verses to Krishna that, oh, I was thinking that you're my friend, and I was playing with you, joking with you, hitting you, wrestling with you, sleeping with you, resting with you. I thought that you're my friend. I'm so sorry I did this to you. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjun gives his very loving apology to Krishna. So most of us, most of the religion are limited to this majestic understanding of God, that God is creator, all-knowing, infallible. But what it does is that often leads to fearful exchanges with God. We lack intimacy, sweetness. We lack personal relationship with God. But God is opposed to all this. And so Krishna here says that his real form is actually of the two-handed form. And this two-handed form is very difficult to see. It's even longed by demigods to witness that form. And he says that this form cannot be seen by ordinary vision, and cannot be seen just because you have read some many scriptures. We have done some very big austerities or charities or big worship. No, it can just be seen by love. That's what Krishna establishes here. So this is the beautiful form of Krishna, which is the original form. He has a three-bend form, bluish complexion, blackish bluish complexion, which is compared to a fresh rain cloud, curly locks of hair with a flute in his hand, and always surrounded by his loving devotees in form of different creatures. And Krishna is also said to be called as Rasovaisa, which means embodiment of affectionate relationship and transcendental sweetness and loving relish. That's what he's longing for. He's more interested in relishing the sweetness of pure love versus the ritualistic worship in awe and reverence, which is where most of the understanding of religion remains. It's not that, there's a beautiful statement, maybe we'll read later. So here Krishna establishes the only way to know him as in reality, in truth, is through devotional service, undivided devotional service. That's what he tells to Arjuna. This is the only way by which we can understand Krishna. And Krishna is, as we said, only Krishna can know himself best, or only one individual can know himself best. So here Krishna is using the words bhaktya tva ananya shakya. Shakya means possible, only possible, or there's no other way. Ananya, there's no other way but only bhaktya. Bhaktya means bhakti, or love and devotion. So because there are a lot of intricacies in the other spiritual practices, they demand too much, and if one mistake, we are dragged back. But in this relationship of love and devotion, there's no setbacks, there's no looking back, or there's no, there's no loss or diminution. We just move forward in the loving relationship of the Supreme Lord, and Lord is just waiting for us to come home, back to Godhead. And this is established from the 8th chapter, the last text also. So we'll stop here and couldn't complete chapter 12, but any questions, any comments? Brandon, would you like to share or ask? Or
Yeah, I just feel the same with my process with this devotional awareness and like chanting and just the things that I learned on this group, and just seeing the changes that's taking place like within my body and my heart. I feel like it's the transition is happening within me as well. So it feels really sweet and puts a different demeanor on life, makes it softer. Notice that I communicate softer, I move softer, It's powerful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Jennifer, would you like to share something?
I would agree with Brandon. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll just take quick 5 minutes and finish this chapter because not much is left. Chapter 12 is also, it's actually one of the smallest chapter, but we are doing only few verses here, which is again confirming Krishna's love for us. So this is the text 6 and 7, where Krishna is saying, Jennifer, would you like to read for us? Or Brandon, would you like to read for us? Last I think Jennifer read.
Yeah, let's see. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Partha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
Yeah, it's very sweet verse. I personally like this verse a lot because Krishna is saying that all we have to do is just do practical service towards him, remember him, sing the Maha Mantra, chant, and then he is the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. And we see that Krishna is here to help his devotee. This world is compared to the ocean, very vast ocean with great depths and no boundaries, and we are all stuck here. And then Krishna comes in the form of, this is the four-armed form of Krishna, which is Vishnu. And he comes on his transcendental bird, Garuda, which is big vulture. And he's trying to rescue the devotee here. So he's a swift deliverer of birth and death. And then here Krishna is explaining in this particular series of texts 8, 9, 10, 11 again, is that Krishna here is establishing his accessibility. He understands that every individual is different. They will have different pace. So they can be at different stages of the yoga ladder and they can gradually come to him. So the first stage is which he establishes in the end of the 6th chapter also, and in the 9th chapter also, is that he's saying, just fix your mind upon me and engage all your intelligence in me, and thus you will always live in me without a doubt. So he's saying the topmost thing is that we can always think of Krishna. Then he's saying, okay, we may not be at that stage. Teaches the regulative, or to have a steps. We take our baby steps and we have different stages, so we follow those stages, and when we have matured through those stages, we'll automatically come to the stage which is being explained in the text 8. So very easy. So if you just follow the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, and in this way develop a desire to attain, even just that desire that, yeah, I want to go to Krishna, so that is sufficient, that is good enough. But then if you cannot even do this, then Krishna is telling that if you cannot practice this much also, just try to work for me, and then when you work, you just offer the results to me, and like that. So the next is, if you're still not able to do this for me, then try to give all. The more mature is that we are always thinking that, yeah, I'm working for Krishna, I'm doing this duty for Krishna. But then if you're not able to do this, then do whatever you're doing, but offer the results to me. That's the last. So, but the topmost is 8. But for most of us, we can easily fall with the text 9 because of the association, because of the accessibility of practical service that we get to do in this process of bhakti yoga. And the last point we already covered last Tuesdays is that then this chapter actually talks about different qualities that a devotee should have. They should be tolerant, equipoise, and different qualities that Krishna talks about. But those good qualities will automatically come because we endeavor for it a little bit, but they all come by this process of devotional service, by just by associating with saintly persons and by associating with Krishna, we get all those qualities. The example used is the iron itself cannot burn anything, but if it's kept into a burning furnace for some time, the iron becomes red hot. It becomes as good as fire, and it can burn. It will have that power. So gradually, with this process of devotional service, we will develop all the good qualities that we're supposed to have. So we just stick to this process. So this was chapter 9, 10, 11, 12, and we have covered the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita, and now what we have is the last section of Bhagavad Gita. 13th chapter we've already touched, so next chapter would be 14th and 17th combined, then 15th, 16th, and 18th chapter, which is what we need is 2 weeks more to finish. So any last comments, questions, or any thoughts before we pause for the day?
It's really good information. I'm thankful to be a part of this group and that you guys are putting so much attention and love into delivering these messages to me and to us. I'm sure this is shared amongst the group.
Thank you so much, Brandon. We're so encouraged by your presence and your thoughts all the time.
And I would second that. I mean, just all the the work and the coordination and the love, for all this time. So yeah. And yeah, I say the same thing. And I think the softening process that Brandon mentioned, I've experienced as well. So
Great. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We're
You're
so grateful that you live close by to us. So thank you so much. We'll pause here, and we'll Tuesday we'll do 14th and 17th. It's a very fun exercise. The 14th and 17th will be like all of us doing together after understanding the 3 modes. We'll just do a little exercise, put different things and different objects and different statements into 3 modes. So it'll be just fun exercise next time.
nice.
Awesome.
Very
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good night.